This is Trump tells the truth. We always talk about when did the conservative bullshit start? Did it start in the 90s? Did it start in the 80s? Or was the 80s worse than it is now? Well, I don't know what to say about that. Yes, I do know fucking what to say about that. I see the 80s as a good period of my life. Maybe because I was a kid. There's a lot of things I remember for the time. A lot of things were new inventions, but also new laws. A lot of things was getting access to in the 80s that we didn't have before. Well, a lot of people can say that about the time of the internet too. But it's a lot about the rumors about the 80s, that the 80s was so commercialized that there was too Gordon Gekko was hardcore capitalism and so on. And that's true. But it also was a lot more things that did appeal then that don't have now. We had a peace movement. People were working against nuclear weapons. If you do that today, you would call woke. Yeah. We had ban aid. We had songs for Africa. We tried to focus on climate change and what happened in the rainforest. A lot of laws come out of that. Even a law who forbidden gas, who destroyed the ozone layer, was made by the Bush and Reagan administration, or Reagan and Bush administration. You cannot do that today. The far right is so fucking far right that they would be their own assholes. I think to mention this because it comes now a movie about Reagan. I'm gonna go and see it and make my own judgment, although I don't always like biographies on film because they are usually bullshit. All of them, and then I mean all of them. I'm one of those people who really hate Bohemian Rhapsody, but I'm a big Queen fan. I really love Johnny Cash, but the Johnny Cash movie is like, okay, it was not like that. But again, back to the issue. The 80s had a lot of engagement for a lot of things. When AIDS come, a lot of people from left to the right started doing something. There were a lot of work, it was like idealism. And in the end of the 80s, the Cold War was over. Yeah. And we thought something new was going to happen in the 90s. That maybe the far right was going away, but not harder than any time else. The more Gordon Gekkos and people on the bottom are still cheering up to the wealthy elite more than ever done. Blaming governments, see communists everywhere. They're even at war in Europe right now. Everything is worse than it was in the 80s. You also have a nuclear threat. Yeah, what about that? You didn't thought about that in the 90s. The 90s was a period that this is gonna go alright. We don't have to fight for everything. We can relax now. The long Cold War is over. But it was not. It was definitely not. When people say we're going back to the 80s, it's also sometimes people say, oh, is that like you go back to the 50s, then thing was not politically correct and more conservative and so on. But going back means going back to the 50s, you're going back to a stronger union and hard taxation of the rich. Going back to the 80s, you're going back to more idealism, more piecework, and more common sense in many areas. Not perfect, but I think it was better. So I would love to go back to the 80s. I'm soon 50 years old, so that's not gonna happen. But maybe some people are gonna find a time machine. I'm going back and fucking stay there. Bye. This was Tommy Tron tells the truth.